came to mind were two things. One, I had been toying with the idea of writing a piece that was written from my husband's voice. He often comes home with his boots muddy or caked with horse manure, and holding a tray of bloody surgical instruments that he loads into the dishwasher alongside our mason jelly jars that we use as our drinking glasses. And he proceeds to tell me and his children about his day. And the second thing that came to mind when Dave Eggers asked me for a sci-fi story was that for the past couple of months we had been seeing a spaceship flying low around our house. We guessed what it could be, and we were never sure, but one thing I knew that it was a way for me to have my cake and eat it too. I would write the piece for Dave Eggers as a story, and there would be this spaceship in it that this veterinarian and his family would see on and off. When I finished the piece, I sheepishly mailed it off to Dave, because of course it wasn't a sci-fi story at all, but hey, at least there was a spaceship in it. I wanted to talk a little about when I first started learning how to write in a real writing. I really call an unlearning experience, because I came to writing thinking, oh, well, you know, we write all the time. I wrote in high school. I know how to write. And then, of course, you happen upon, if you're lucky enough, you happen upon a few good teachers who actually tell you, no, you unlearn all that stuff you learned if you're going to be in my class. And I'm going to teach you something else. And I had teachers who told me that, you know, you have to open yourself to a kind of writing where only truths exist. And I learned that I had to fight against all the normative crap that most writers have adopted as a way of being acceptable on the page. So I had to fight for a rightness of the spoken sentence so that it had to adhere to the page with unquestionable authority and presence. I was determined not to let my readers fall into a gaze when they read my work. I wanted to wake them up out of their sleep state, so that a sleep state that I think most people, and I'm guilty of it too, that I fall into when I'm reading fiction that doesn't challenge my brain in a little way, a little bit. And I'm, as a writer, always trying to fight against that, fighting against the horrors of regularity, which means I'm trying to rid my writing of tired expressions, such as he laughed uproariously, or she fell to the floor like a ton of bricks. She patted him affectionately. They looked at each other knowingly. But it was interesting that one of the stronger feelings that I had when I finished the book was I was able to step back and realize that we do care about each other as a family, and that some of the reactions, or maybe all of the actions and reactions I included in the book that were based on real events were initially just a way for me to tell the story. But in the end, I was able to see that those things, they really shape us and define us as a close family. So it was a really lovely feeling to have after writing a book. It was very unexpected. It was almost like a bonus feeling. So, for example, some of the scenes really did occur in my family, where my daughter's forehead was stitched up by my husband on the kitchen table, with my son, her brother, hovering over her, snapping a million photos. The sillier scenes were there too, where my husband is intent on learning German, and so every once in a while we go around yelling, "Alarm! Alarm!" in German accents, the way the submariners did in the movie Das Boot. And the scene where my husband gets angry with our son for being loud when they spotted a deer through the window was also real, and I had to include it because I knew how each of us was feeling at the time. It was a three-ring circus of emotion, everyone feeling bad in a different kind of way, and I knew that adding that scene was my attempt at making the characters real. My idea to include the hunting accident came from my own primal fear of ever having one of our children harmed. And it wasn't a far-fetched accident to imagine happening, since my husband and son do occasionally hunt together. So I was curious about adding that in there and seeing how it would change the dynamics that he had with his wife, and what change would the boy himself undergo. So the arrival of the spaceman was another example of me wanting to see what things could test this family and how they would react under this strange set of circumstances after they'd already been through one of the more harrowing experiences I could think of. And I liked how in the end the arrival of the spaceman turned out to be less shocking to the family than it might have been to other families, just because this family had already crossed bridges together that it hadn't crossed before, so I think they were stronger for it.